Alrighty, everyone. Again, welcome to Tuesday Chat with Mel. Today, I am happy to be joined by Miss Lang. If you are at the upper campus, you've absolutely seen her around in carpool, walking around. I tell you, if you see Miss Lang, she's always talking to the children, which is absolutely what one should be doing as the college counselor, getting to know them. So that's truly wonderful. If you're at the lower campus, you may not have met her yet, but no worries. She's always around for everyone. I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, Miss Lang, in the spring, you do make your way down here for a lovely college opportunity for the fourth and fifth graders coming again in the spring. So, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Lang. And essentially, our conversation today really stems around that road to college, right? What does that look like? What are the steps that one can take to prepare? Because sometimes you might be thinking, but my child is in elementary. I'm kind of thinking about it. I'm not. And for some of us, you're like, I'm completely thinking about it. But what does that really mean, right? Because we also don't want to stress out the children, but we also want us to really lay the foundation for some basic things that we can, as parents, think about and really instill in our children, especially when they're really, really young, right? And as they get older, we become a little bit more thoughtful and purposeful with the things that we're doing. For those who don't know, I myself, I'm a former college counselor, so this topic is near and dear to my heart. And Miss Lang, I didn't tell you this, but last week when I was on the break, we were driving to Georgia and we actually stopped off at University of North Florida to go do a college visit because
Oh,
yeah, I was like with Nia, my oldest. For those who don't know, my oldest is in 10th grade. So we thought, you know what a great opportunity. So sometimes those are the small things that we can do as well too, like a road trip on a vacation, I'm passing a college. Why not stop so the wheels can get to turning for some of our children? So without further ado, I turn it over to Miss Lang because I love this topic. I love all things college and preparation. But I'm going to pause so she can take on over. Miss Lang.
hi guys, welcome, welcome. So, this is a topic of interest and love that I do share with you. I was just talking to one of my seniors. He also did a visit during the Thanksgiving break. He went to Howard University to do a visit. And one of the important things with that is he was integrated in the college experience and he was able to feel at home at Howard. So that makes me very excited. I think sometimes I'm overly invested in the lives of my seniors. I feel like their mother, and it's okay, you know. So I love what I do, and I just wanted to share a little bit of that with you guys. As far as the college experience, now we are in that application season. And with this application season, a few things that we are um, doing now is our college checklist. By this time, the preparation and planning systems have already initiated themselves, and many of our students have already applied, nearly all of them, for either early application or early decisions. And the remainder, they may be doing regular applications. So they have been going through their college checklists where they are familiarizing themselves with navigating the score, which we use as our platform and system, their Common App. They have finalized their college checklist already, and this is just cultivating their college choices and making that list where it's specific to them. They have taken their test. I have one or two students that are doing a December SAT or ACT test. But most of them have already taken their test for preparation, or some of them may want a higher score, so they do a retake. They're maintaining their strong GPA. This is something that I push because not because we apply, we want to make sure that we are being consistent in our procedures and processes so that when we finish strong.
Miss
Um,
Lang? I'm
Yes.
so sorry to interrupt you, but I have noticed that there is a dark screen and you have this beautiful checklist that we cannot see. I don't know if anybody else is experiencing that. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, and I apologize to interrupt you mid speaking about all this important stuff, but I'm going to share my screen
Okay.
for you. So I didn't want to
Okay.
throw you off, but I'm gonna go ahead and do that now so that they can see that.
That's okay.
Okay. Hopefully you can see this. Oh, I'm having a little lag.
Okay, so as I was saying, the biggest thing that we could do is create those habits, and those habits are what we use to plan and process. So with creating those habits, those things that we did, we navigated our resources, we created our college list, we set the tone for our SAT scores, ACT scores, our GPA. We got our letters of recommendation. Our resumes were built. We did our essays, personal statement supplements. Our transcripts were ordered. Applications were submitted for the most part. We did our financial aid. And now some of us were in the process of tracking our applications. So now, currently, with our seniors, this is what we're doing. We're tracking that process. And so this is an exciting process for me because now we're getting those acceptances and we're able to track them. We're getting those scholarship awards and we're able to track them. The students are running in, they're bringing me their college acceptance boxes, and now I have like this shrine of college acceptance boxes like on my on my little mantle there. And they do it, they bring their glasses. So this is an exciting period, but it has to start somewhere. This is the end goal, and this is an experience that well, it's one part of the end goal, but it starts somewhere. And for that, we start with our high school prep. And within that high school prep, we have our course selections. And one thing about this, I want to make sure that we are guided in the best way with our course selections. If we know our intended major, and it's okay if we don't, our course selections help tailor that process so that when we get to our final stages, everything is more cohesive. So our activity engagements as well, they matter. And one thing that we have been encouraging lately is our summer programs, which gives our students. I know Nia, she went to a summer program as well, Miss Nelson, where she was basically engaged in that environment to be able to get that experience. And sometimes during these programs, students are more decisive. Like they're like, I want to do science, but I don't know which area that I want to work with. I want to get into business. I don't know which area I want to work with. So these summer programs helps them to be a little bit more decisive with that. Um, in high school, we have during our meetings testing schedule where we can plan our SAT testing. We can plan our ACT testing. And one recommendation is we don't have to stick with just one test. Some students, they do a little bit better in their ACT, or some do a little bit more. The SAT is a little bit more beneficial for some of them. So it all depends. So we're going to explore your students' strength and what works for them. The application timelines, we know that with everything that there's a deadline. So parents, a way that we can encourage our students is to help with the deadline. And I have a nifty checklist that we put on the refrigerator and we slap it on the fridge. And this is how we keep account, because sometimes the students, I did that already. So here's where we can, be on the same team and on the same page where we can meet those deadlines because time will happen very quickly. Communication, this is a big thing for me. I always like to share, and I'm pretty sure those of you that know me know that, we're all in a car and the student is the driver, and they are to communicate to us in different ways. And we want to make sure that we are all cohesive and that these roles are communicated properly. They are the driver, you are the passenger princess, and I am the GPS. So if we look at that in that type of way, we know our role. We can kind of efficiently complete our role without stepping on any toes or taking that steering wheel from our students, and giving them the freedom to be expressive and have their own interests, and be able to feel safe in giving you feedback. Mom, Dad, I don't want to do this anymore. Maybe we could look into this. So it gives a form of expression, and it allows them to go to our next point in middle school where they're discovering their interests. Sometimes their interest may change over time, and that's just a part of learning. That's that learning experience, and this is what we want them to be engaged in. We want them to explore. We want them to build that interest, to be inquisitive, to be curious, to explore, to be engaged. They are in the driver's seat. And, as a driver, if you can picture it, you're on the road. You have to be engaged. You have to look at the road, see if you're in the other lane. You have to pay attention to traffic signs and all of those things. And we want that student to be actively engaged in this pathway or this process. And they're going to ask questions. They may have an input. They may not have anything at all, and that's okay. So with that, just to be exposed to different environments like summer programs, that creates that curiosity. It may answer some questions for them. It allows them to explore and see things hands-on, so that they can be a little bit more decisive, and I can better direct and help them navigate on the pathway that they would choose. Another thing that I have been very happy about with our team is the communication process. The meeting starts, or the beginning starts with parent, student, and myself meeting together. And that's a very important thing for me because I want you to be engaged in that process. I want you to be aware of this system that we're creating, this pathway. I have myself a junior, so I try to lay it out in a way as a parent as well that I would be able to understand, because sometimes we support what we understand a little bit better, right? And we can hold them accountable, and we can hold ourselves accountable in this process, and we can communicate a little bit more efficiently and clear if we have these purposeful conversations. So when we have these purposeful conversations, we could ask questions. Hey, what are you thinking about? What careers are you most interested in? What class are you engaged in? Is there an elective that you find interesting or that you maybe want to explore for the next semester? What ignites you? And sometimes even liberal arts are a great form of interest and discussion. So having these purposeful conversations, I think that that is the building block that we can use to navigate along the pathway. And it creates a system of identity. And it helps when we get to our latter processes with creating an essay or a personal statement or something of that nature, so that when we're cultivating these things, we have already engaged or experienced this student's curiosity, their interest, what they like, what they're engaged in, and then we can have these conversations, and it can be an opening platform for us to speak, but just as well to listen to what they have to say and hear them out. And really, I think it's amazing when you hear what they're interested in. First of all, they may be creating a major that we can build. And I know some students, we just did a study that some med students are really benefiting from liberal arts classes. It keeps balance, it keeps them centered. So these are things that these discussions are allowing to build bridges within our team, within parent, student, and supportive staff, like their guidance, their college counselor. Um, and I think that communicating will build a pattern. I think that structure is something that we need, and we start off with our checklist, which creates structure. But the patterns of the systems is something that we want to make sure that we are building along the way. This is something new for them. So we want to make sure that as we build this pathway, we are creating patterns of familiarity where they feel safe and they feel that they can ask questions and be stable and find things that they may be curious, engaging in programs, researching colleges, maybe looking at career goals. So these platforms that we are building allows room for that to even happen. And then we move on to our next slide with our elementary. And you say, oh, what does elementary have to do with it? I remember going to a conference and it was a few parents discussing what they're going to do for college, and it was really a kindergarten class. So it was pretty funny, but in a sense, we may not be college ready yet, but we can have those discussions. We can build healthy habits. Some of those healthy habits may include preparing with reading, writing, structure, communication, executive functioning, becoming a little bit more organized. So even if you have a book bag or a locker or whatever, take a look in there. That may be our starting point. I know I went in my daughter's book bag and I'm like, she was leaned over all the way. And I'm like, what do you have in here? Books from 1962. That doesn't need to be in there, and get that out of here. So these are things that we can effectively and start, and that can start a conversation. Reading is a very important part of that college process, and we want to encourage our students to read. I know we have certain things at the lower campus that will stimulate that process. Maybe reading clubs, join a book club, or a system of that nature where these students are reading books and exploring that world that builds curiosity, it builds creativity, it builds on the imagination on what they can do, aspirations, setting goals. I can be like this person. I could be magical like Harry Potter. So these are things that these are things that reading helps us to dive into, to explore, and not just reading on a screen, but actually picking up a tangible book and reading and maybe having a conversation about the book. What did you enjoy about the book? What stood out to you about it? Was there any interesting chapter? Specific questions. Question starters are very important when you're creating organization, even. If we have lockers, starting there, going in their room and seeing what's under the bed, that can help with just building that trust and a safe zone so that they can trust you. And no conversation is a hard conversation because we start with the easy things. And that creates in them the consistency that they need to have a belief system or have confidence that they can move to the next step. And I believe that sometimes they are counting on us to at that very young age to model the expectation. And so, if we're discussing these topics about college and having those conversations, and maybe the next time you drive past a university, letting that be the lead in for a conversation and introducing or modeling the topic that you want to discuss and just not letting it be overwhelming. It could be a 5-minute discussion and just having them exposed to that dynamic or that structure of communication that they are now going into that mindset. They could have it with their teachers. They can see the careers of their teachers and have those discussions in their classroom. I know I have them all the time about career choice from middle school all the way to high school. We talk about it all the time. And it's great to see they may be creating a new career choice, and it's okay. This is the conversations that we want to have. And we could start having them as early as you would like. So the communication and how we model it and our expectation and building these habits and creating a framework and giving them the support that's non-judgmental and allowing them to explore their interest and reason out when they have to do decision making and maybe change their mind completely. I know our principal, she changed her major a few times. So these are things that are a normal pathway for that college process. And I believe, and this is something that I valued, where we're exposing them to this framework, the verbiage, and how we speak and are discussing it at the dinner table. This is why it's so important, because in the end, we are creating a pathway for them and we are modeling our expectation. Me, myself, I'm a first generation college student. So those conversations were not had at home, not because they didn't exist. It's because my mom didn't have the tools or the structure that she needed. So I had to become the beacon for those conversations. And so we had the structure and it started with me. And so I'm finding my way through things and navigating things. And I think that it's a fun ride. Well, most times it can be a fun ride. And now I have a little junior myself. And I'm like, oh gosh, now I have to model and create habits and create structure and consistency. And it's okay because we're learning together. And so as we walk away from this, I would want you to walk away with first of all establishing those roles. And I have my juniors that are meeting now. I wanted to get a head start with them. We usually meet with them in the summer, but we can prepare now and we can get started so they can feel a little bit more comfortable. And one of the first things that we do is establishing those roles. Again, they are the ones that are in the driver's seat. I'm here to best support them, to guide them, to give them the resources, the platforms that they need, but they are the drivers. I'm just the GPS and the guide. But you all are the passenger princesses, and you know the role that that plays in the car. I tell you guys all the time, you control the radio, you control the air, you control maybe the distractions that are in the car too. So we want to make sure that we are creating the best driving environment for them to be on the best pathway, so that they could have the best fit or suited success in their college journey. And everybody is going to be different. Every family support is going to be different. Every family is different. The eclectic value of just say busy parents or busy grandparents that may not be able to check in all the time. We have a checklist. We're putting it on the fridge. We could have a weekly check-in, We don't have to do what another family is doing. Our homes are very exclusive to us, and we want to build that safe ground and that structure of trust and availability so that we can have conversations, whether they are hard ones, whether we have to not talk, just support and listen and guide. And I know I'm a mom, sometimes that's hard, right? So we want to create these best practices within our team so that we can have balance, we can have systems that are functioning, and sometimes it may look like chaos, but it's moving. And that's an important part. A pathway is meant to be traveled on. And sometimes in that pathway, we may have roadblocks that may look like roadblocks, but in a sense, it strengthens us to take another step. And that's what we want to get to. We want to be able to have our students step into success, but they're moving their own legs. Like we're not saying, get this leg up and move it. We want to make sure that they are initiating this process and that we can help guide them along this journey. And they could feel confident within themselves that at the end of the day, I made these decisions, I took the steps. I took the electives that I want. I took the extracurriculars that I want. I did my community service hours that I may not have wanted to do, but if they're aligned with their major and their college choice of major, then everything comes together and all things work. And now, in the end, you see that colleges are now looking to find students that are holistic, and that holistic approach is knowing that students will come in different sizes, shapes, mentally, um, and different backgrounds, different support systems. But we want to know that this college is the right fit for them. And as we navigate this at Sagemont, we want to make sure that we best prepare them. So we're not making too many last minute tweaks to this college process. And I'm here for you to support you. I have an open line, an open door. Kids are just frolicking, making appointments, schedule is booked, but that's okay because I feel that at the end of the day, if it brings the student success, it makes me happy. Um,
Uh,
so I think that that is it for us, team. I'm
I
going to call
know,
you
I
team
know
now.
we are coming up on our half hour time, but before Miss Lang, before we close out in a little bit, there are a few points that I just wanted to kind of hone in on as a parent. Of course, you have your 11th grader, so you're in the thick of it in terms of looking at everything and the SATs coming and the ACTs and so forth. Mine is still in 10th, and I have a little young third grader. And I think there were a few points that I wanted to just kind of hone in on from the parents' perspective, going through a variety of different things at the elementary level and the high school level, and have gone through the middle school area. I said to Miss Lang when we were talking about this, when as a college counselor, I was also looking at scores, and she sees this all the time too. When she says that one of the biggest things that you can do is get your kids to love reading, that is probably the biggest thing to work on and work towards the most fun way when they're young. Reason being is what we see is those reading comprehension skills don't happen overnight, right? And when you look at an ACT and SAT score, I can immediately tell this is a reader, meaning that they've been reading for quite a while because it does take time to develop, right? And so when you have those little bitty ones, one of the things I highly encourage is making that reading fun when they're not in
Mhm.
school as well. At one point in my life, especially with my oldest, I'm like, this is what I want you to read, right? As a parent. And just to go back to her point, right, of being that passenger princess, they have to find their own path and
Mhm.
they have to find out what they appreciate, what they love. And that's what's going to keep going. So my oldest now loves to read these sci-fi novels. I'm not a sci-fi reader. I'm a, bleh.
Yeah.
But that's it. But she'll read all day long. And now the youngest sees her reading all the time. And I used to be very worried about, is she going to be a reader, an avid reader too? And now she's picking that up because she sees her big sister and we've made it fun, right? And that fun part means like, oh, let's go to a bookstore on the weekends
Mhm.
and let's get some hot chocolate afterwards. Let's go to the library, like a library still, is out there. Let's sit, let's get, we're at home and we have a tent and we get a light and it's kind
Yeah.
of cozy. So when they're like that younger reader, those are the things that make it fun for them and they want to just continue. So as they get older, it doesn't feel like it's a chore. It's like, let me pick up something that I'm interested in and really being that passenger princess. And I love when
Yeah.
you say that, Miss Lang, because as a parent, and believe it or not, and she mentioned my oldest Nia, she went on her second college um, summer program and her first one away last year. She went to Gettysburg College. Did she realize that she was interested in what she was studying there? She loved it. Realized she's like, I don't really like Gettysburg. I don't think that's where I want to go, right? So it also allows her to develop kind of a knowledge of what works and what doesn't work. But one thing I will tell you as a parent, and I was that college counselor, Miss Lang, that
Mhm.
I was like you. And so I'm going to tell you my parent perspective. And that's why it's so important when she says being a passenger princess because as that former college counselor, I said these same things to parents, right? Send them away, do the college program. It's really good for them.
Mhm.
I 100% know that in the bottom of my heart. I know that. Sarah, I see you smiling. I know it. When I had to deal with the reality of being a parent in that position, and last year, Nia, went away to Gettysburg College, and I had to leave her there.
Yeah.
And and it turned out just a short story, but she wanted a roommate. And for some of you who know Nia, she's a little shyer, right? So she was like hoping that this would be an opportunity to I have a roommate, I'll have it's kind of built-in person I'll talk to. And she got a single. And as that mom inside of me, I wanted to say, and I wanted to email the counselors and say, can you find her a roommate? And and she goes, Mommy, don't do that. And I walked away at that college. I called Monica Vigna because there's tears in my eyes. My heart is like heavy because I'm leaving my child, but I had to also come to the reality as well too that I needed to get over my fears on her fears, and she also needs these opportunities to grow, right? So as a parent, being in that position, we also have to confront our own fears, our own
Yeah.
anxieties as well. And that's real. And I hear everything Miss Lang is saying, and I said the same thing, and I believe it all. And when you're meeting with her, and I know she's in the midst of meeting with her 11th graders now, and then that's going to trickle down to the 10th graders and the ninth graders, and she's going to be doing some workshops with our middle school families and our fourth and fifth grade as well. But I say all of that to go as parents, when she says, be the passenger princess, it is so true. We have to really, as especially as our kids get older, allow them that room to explore, to fail, know
Yeah.
that they're in a safe place now where we can also help to support them to get back up on their feet, right? It's safe now. So allow them that opportunity to do so. And like you said, you can still control the radio. You can say, put the window up, because I don't like the window up really. I mean, down. So put it up a little bit, right? But you have to let them do that navigating and have those conversations with them. And sometimes, and just more on a personal note, if you're a family that like we watch TV all the time, maybe shut that TV off sometimes and go, let's just sit at the
Yeah.
table and let's have that
Yeah.
conversation. If it was a college fair or maybe she does a middle school, workshop, let's shut that TV off. Let's sit at the dinner table and let's have the conversation about what you're doing in advisory, what you learned, what book you learned today. I know that third grade you had a heartness discussion. Let's talk about it. All
Yeah.
of those things are really meaningful for the children to explore what they're interested in. You'll be surprised at what you get. So
Yeah.
really be the passenger princess, and it's okay. We also need to confront our fears. And it is hard. And
Yeah.
ask Monica Vigna, if you're at the lower campus, ask Monica Vigna, because this mommy was in her car driving from Gettysburg College, and my heart was breaking, but I knew it was so important. And she called me the next day and she goes, Mommy, I have two people that I'm talking to at breakfast. And I went, she had to figure it out. And I
Mhm.
had to let go of my fear and my anxiety because it's mine, it's not hers, right? So that's all I wanted to share. But really, with Miss Lang, she is an absolute resource for everyone. And if she is having a Zoom and you have a Zoom that's coming up for your session or parent meeting, please make sure you're there with her. When she sends something home and says, I met with your child, I was in their grade level, have those conversations, because that's how we open the door to just exploring different things and going, you know what? That makes sense for me now, or it doesn't make sense anymore, right? It's their turn to drive, especially as they get older. So thank you so much, Miss Lang. I appreciate you so much. I can't wait for my parent meeting in 10th grade. I know it's coming.
I'm waiting.
um,
I'm waiting. And
and
I really appreciate all of the parents for taking the time. This in itself speaks volumes that you're taking the time. Like Miss Nelson said, I think that taking these steps creates that those indirect lessons like early advocacy, self-advocacy, and being able to make decisions. I also believe that within their college applications process or that journey, they create an ownership of it, and they are encouraged to take that next step. I've learned through seeing it from the beginning to the end that confidence is built over time. And sometimes, like Miss Nelson said, it's not based just on trying, nor is it just built on perfection. Confidence happens over time. And I believe with this step, this is a step on that pathway. And just with the right support, the right engagement, connection with all of us as a team, that the best fit and the success, even if it's away in Gettysburg or where else Nia chooses, or where else your child may choose, we can be an adequate amount or an adequate fit of support for them in their college journey. And that's the exciting part when sometimes after the first month, and they're not at home, you'd be like, I can get used to this. So, thank you for guys for coming, joining us. This was very nice. I really enjoy these things. And I look forward to seeing many of you to our junior meetings that are upcoming in the next few weeks.
Thank you so much again, Miss Lang. And we'll stay on. We're going to stop recording a little bit, but we'll stay on a little bit if anyone has any questions. But also feel free to email her if you have a question, you're thinking
Yes,
about something. Our ultimate goal is here to support you through the process, no matter
always.
where you are in the journey of it. Okay. So again, thank you. And I'm going to hit the stop recording.